Hi guys, this is Carrie. Welcome to A Crone's Life. Today I'm doing a video response to Simon at A Hermit's Cave. I believe the hashtag is what tarot taught me, and I'm going to try and follow his kind of setup, the way he presented the prompts, and I'll try to stay on the same line as Simon, but the problem is that I don't have 40 years of experience with tarot. But the first prompt is self-awareness. So tarot has taught me self-awareness. So before tarot, I used to just live inside of my own head. I don't know. The first prompt is self-awareness. How has tarot taught me self-awareness? It's kind of funny. The first thing I thought of when I was writing what I needed to for the prompts is I feel like I'm in an AA meeting. And I'm introducing myself. Hello, my name is Carrie. I was voted most likely to join a cult in high school. I've always kind of wanted that in my life, just something different but ordinary at the same time. I used to just live inside of my own head, and I thought it was normal that everything I saw in the news and everything that I read was, internalized and taken very personally. So I spent a lot of time jumping to conclusions. I don't think I very often tried to back up and see the big picture. I don't think that there was anyone that could have helped me with that. It was just, I wasn't in a place in my young life to care about big picture things. I could see big picture things in some respects, but for the most part, I just, it was my own little world that I was living in, and that's really all that mattered. Something that we've always said, and it rings true daily, is that words mean things. And, we joke around about a lot of stuff, like when you know, or you can't know things you don't know. There was really no telling me when I was younger that words mean things. Like, I could say it all day long, but it never resounded in my experiences. So when I started doing tarot and I realized that, okay, so the Six of Swords is all about a transition in your life, or a journey, or a rite of passage, or you're leaving rough waters and you're going to smoother waters, whatever the case may be. Each one of those interpretations is different than the other. Rite of passage could be your 16th birthday, learning how to drive, or rite of passage could be you're in perimenopause and your life is changing in ways you never expected. But also, the Six of Swords doesn't have to mean that. It could just mean you're going on a voyage and you're going to have a life-changing vacation. I mean, there are so many circumstances you can put to a single card, and I've realized as I read the cards that each definition, each set of words, each phrase has its own meaning. This is a very good example, the Eight of Swords. I always thought the Eight of Swords is like, well, what do you mean I keep myself locked up? That's silly. I would never do that. But then you realize that this has to do with the rules that you make for yourself. What am I allowed to say? When am I allowed to say it? Do I have to pray every Sunday? Do I need to go to church to feel that sense of I'm doing the right thing? It's so, it's limitless with your ability, or one's ability, to attribute meaning to, or different meaning to, each one of the words and phrases for the cards. I find that to be kind of amazing and fun. It's a puzzle to me sometimes. I find it very fun. So the second prompt is personal responsibility, in a way that's also changing your perspective. So when I was younger, before I started like doing anything with tarot, before I even got into my art classes, I don't know, I just felt like, things happened to me, and things happened to other people, and I would say things like life isn't fair, and that everybody knows that's not true. Everything happens in the time that it's meant to happen, and personal responsibility for me is being able to step back and see, going back to the words mean things, stepping back to see that everything we do matters, and how we live our lives is what we get. If you lead a risky life, then things are more likely to happen to you. If you, if you bring bad karma on yourself, you're likely to feel unlucky or not be able to sleep at night. All kinds of things. But, besides just the obvious that, we all lead different lives, so therefore we bring different things on ourselves, the other obvious thing is that, we don't see the bad that we do. So my cards call me out and tell me when, I'm not behaving very well. This deck in particular tells me when I'm being greedy and I need to, look around and be appreciative, be grateful, love what you have, and, appreciate it. Take time to spend time with it. And there are several decks that do this kind of thing. I just chose this one because it's beautiful. So oftentimes it'll tell me, this one will tell me to stop spending money, and others will tell me to keep my mouth shut. And yet other decks will remind me to take care of my body, because I'm not always very good about exercising, truth be told. But the takeaway from this for me, personal responsibility, is I have to keep the main thing, and whatever it is that I'm hoping for ultimately, that's what I need to maintain as in the forefront of my mind. So my decks know when I have goals, and they try to help me stay focused on those goals. Just be responsible and make the main thing that you want to get done, the main thing. Keep that in the forefront of your mind, and keep the main thing the main thing. It sounds so funny to say it so many times, but it really is what I mean to say. So there's that. Simon's next prompt is patience and timing. I've always considered myself pretty patient. I worked with children for 30 years, and, I can hold out better than most when it comes to patience. Waiting for something, I crochet, and that's a lot of patience. But I've realized after using my tarot decks that patience for certain things is not really here for me. If I have a big project like fixing the house, or an art project where I'm spending lots of time with the detail, I have a tendency to be impatient, and I'm always kind of looking for that instant gratification. And I think to a certain extent we need some instant gratification so that we can feel encouraged to keep going or keep waiting. But for the most part, patience and timing has been very a new learning experience for me, because I'll get a message from my deck and I'll think, oh, okay, this is happening today. And then I realize, no, this is happening soon-ish. We all get a feel for our cards. We all understand that, there's a feeling that you get when something is urgent. And when it's not urgent, it just feels like different, hanging out there, it's kind of waiting in the void, but it's preparing your mind. And so when you know, okay, something's coming, you have to, or you feel like you should, I feel like I should, go through all the possibilities. Well, what could it be? And in that time that you take to consider possibilities, and when you are taking that time, you're slowing everything down. And honestly, that might be the biggest lesson that Tarot's taught me so far, is that when you slow down, you can receive so much more information. So slowing down, taking it all in, considering the symbolism of each and every detail, and in getting more accurate readings. And I wanted to touch on something else, because also Simon and I don't share a need to create art. I mean, maybe he does, but he doesn't talk about it. Starting tarot again was important for me to use it as a way to inspire art to come out of me. And I just have to be honest and say that these deck creators, just seeing their artwork, every time I pull up a beautiful deck, it inspires me to draw, it inspires me to paint. So in that respect also, patience and timing, just knowing that I can do this. I can draw this. I can enjoy these art projects, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's practice, and it's work, and it's fun, and I feel better doing it. So patience and timing, and slowing down to see the details. Prompt number 4 is trusting your intuition. I started reading tarot again for so many reasons. Like, I just felt like everything was just the right time. But when I saw the decks, and when I started doing this again, it just felt right. Everything in my body just said, okay, this is it. This is what you need. And in every direction of your life, things are going to get better, and you're going to be happier with yourself. So when I took it up and decided to trust my intuition, it was really hard at first, because I thought, I'm just making this stuff up in my head, and this is all my imagination, and I just had a hard time believing that anything was for me. Any messages was for me. And after a while, like, these really clear messages came through, and I've told a couple of people about some important moments, but when you've had an experience where your cards are actually telling you something, that have an actual message for you, you know it, and you're constantly looking for it again. Like, I'm still to this day constantly looking for these really clear messages like I used to get, and I'm amazed at how close to spirit you feel when you get these messages, and then how far away you feel when, when everything is mundane and daily and nothing big is happening. But in that respect, you have to have the mundane to know when you've got something big and magical happening. So, along with trusting your intuition is also doing the research and believing that your curiosity is leading you in the right direction. So, trusting intuition is huge because it covers so many different aspects of, of what you're interpreting around you. It's the signs that you see during the day. It's the synchronicities that you have with your cards. It's the big messages and the little messages. The little messages might get overlooked more frequently than the big messages, but like for instance today my cards were telling me I need to go ahead and make this video because I'm probably going to get bored and distracted and I'm not going to do it. So, getting ready to take on a simple daily act like, oh, you better exercise because your back is going to really hurt tomorrow, or do this video because you might never do this video. These are very simple and not life-threatening situations, but your cards are really helping you, and you have to trust yourself to say, yeah, I know, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I've got to just figure out a way and get it done, or just trust that whatever it's telling you it's the truth. It's not just fooling you. It's not just, jerking your chain. If you're really doing tarot the way, if you're really doing tarot for guidance, then trusting the messages is key, is very important. It's essential. So trust your intuition. Prompt number 5 is shadow work. My problem with shadow work is that I don't really do it. I've tried to ask shadow work type questions, and it's a cascade effect. I end up beating myself up over something that I'm supposed to be learning to accept about myself. So I don't think I'm in the right time to do shadow work, but what I am able to do is use tarot to feed my curious mind. Not every deck, but a lot of my decks have information within them that I never knew. Tarot of the Divine has folklore from all around the world, and of course I haven't heard every single folk tale there is, so this has a lot of new and interesting information. But also, I'm doing it wrong, aren't I? Yes. Also, there are decks that touch upon different dimensions and Lemuria, star seeds, things that I'd never in my life heard of before I got into this community. There are tarot decks that talk about the 13 dimensions and quantum physics and sacred geometry and chakras and Reiki and Kundalini yoga. You could go just about any direction, and there's a tarot deck to help you work through your curiosities. And I've always been a fan of flashcards, so this is not unusual to be using cards as a way to learn new information and retain it, actually, just not just take it in, but actually to keep this information. I think my cards are pretty cool for that. But my curious mind, like I was saying, there's a tarot deck around any kind of information you would have wanted. Now, there's not one right now that I'm aware of for Hinduism, spirituality kind of research, but I'm sure there's some out there. It's just I haven't found one that I like, or I haven't had one pop up that means anything to me. But yeah, the information in these decks is, if you choose to follow the little breadcrumb trail, you can just go down a time sink. You can really engorge yourself on tons of information and stories and philosophies. So tarot does that for me on a daily. Absolutely love what I get from the tarot decks. So feeds my curious mind. The next prompt 6, is discernment, and okay, the number 6 prompt is discernment, and I've decided that what discernment means for me is what works for me does not always work for other people, and vice versa. When I got back into tarot, I just wanted to try everything that everybody was doing, because I was sure that if it worked for them, it would surely work for me. I don't know. I didn't care about cardstock. I didn't care about, some types of artwork bothered me, but I just didn't have the discernment. I just didn't have a critical point of view when it came to the artwork. I knew when something was good for me, that spoke to me, and I knew when something just didn't work for me. That is a very personal thing. I mean, I show off my decks because I get excited about them, but honestly, I don't expect other people to have the same experience as me, because we have, different life filters and experiences that make us react differently to artwork and cardstock and, just all different little aspects to having a card deck. But discernment for me is all about trying, failing, trying again. But I don't give up on any one thing just because it didn't work for me. I kind of keep it around and try it again later, because you never know. I do enjoy the slowness of tarot, so, taking my time to analyze each image and get to know each card, that's a lot of fun. But also, I have to have change, and I have to have change pretty frequently, or else I'm not getting anything done. I won't remember anything, I won't feel attached to anything if it gets on my nerves, if I've used it too long. So a weekly change out works best for me. Everybody's different, everybody has their own way, and I don't ever assume that, I'm doing it the right way. I'm just doing it the right way for me. So, yeah, everything about the experience with the deck shifts my experience in general, because smells, symbolism, energy, all of it works together to create a reading for me. Prompt number 7 is acceptance of change. I don't think I've ever really had a problem with that. I actually really like change. I think more than anything, tarot helps me to prepare for change. It encourages me to step outside of my comfort zone. I think this is just being real for a second. I think more than tarot itself, it's the community of tarot that helps me to step outside of my comfort zone. Seeing that you guys have the same kind of experiences that I have, it validates my need for change, it validates my choice for change, and when I get stalker cards, I won't ignore them, because I hear other people's stories about their experience with stalker cards. It's just this wonderful mirror to have the community here in tarot that we have. I don't just consider my tarot practice working with cards. My tarot practice is actually trying to read the books and actually trying to communicate with other people and integrating myself into an entire world of tarot, not just using the cards. So, and that's another aspect of Simon has 40 years of experience and I have, barely 10. So, it's just altogether different. But it's still the same within the community, if that makes any sense at all. I always think about you guys when it comes to change, because I almost want to check in with people. Are you guys feeling this too? Feeling like these bursts of energy, these creative forces. I'm feeling, blah, blah, blah. And I just want to check with everybody in our community and see who else is feeling this. It's not just me. And that's pretty magical to me. I've not had a group of people that have the same experiences that I have. So this is unique and pretty magical to me. But the acceptance of change is, like I said, I've been pretty good about accepting it. I think preparing for it and validating it is where I'm at right now with change. Prompt number 8 is a daily anchor. I do a tarot reading every day, and I'll do one at the beginning and the end of the year. Sometimes I do them on full moons and new moons, but those are less necessary, I think. I really have to do one every day, or it doesn't feel like my day is, done. I don't feel like I've done what I need to. So there was a time a few years ago when I realized that my mom wasn't able to find the words correctly. She wasn't able to communicate like she wanted to. I find I have the same issue, and so it wasn't a big deal at the time. I was just thinking, wow, she's struggling. And when I struggle like that, I often think, oh, what's going on with me now? But tarot has given me an opportunity to write in my journal daily, and a challenge to find new words for experiences and for feelings, and given me a new experience for expression. And I believe that is enriching, regardless of what's going to happen to my brain when I'm older. If I end up like my mom with Alzheimer's, or if I'm able to keep my mind elastic and challenge it on a daily, and keep the words at the tip of my tongue, kind of thing, then that's even better. But this is a challenge for me, and writing in my journal is not an easy thing to do. Finding new words for expression is really difficult for me, but I try to do it every day because I know that it's good for me. I know that it means something to the people around me. This is a legacy that I'm going to have for generations behind me, and I'm no Anne Frank. I have no grand experience to write about, but tarot actually gives so much more meaning to the mundane, and it helps to I don't know if it's to show the magical stuff. If it's hard to say. It definitely gives a really magical twist on things that seem very mundane, like writing in your journal. And because I focus on art, my journals have words and pictures. So, great big old picture book with my goofy writing. Maybe someday somebody will just love it to pieces. That would be fantastic. My goal has always been to love myself enough to spill my life out into other people's lives and bring them joy in that same respect. So that's what I'm working on with this, and I think there's not a whole lot better I can get right now than just having a daily anchor and writing and drawing daily. That is a investment in the future. So the next prompt is prompt number 9, and it's the big one. It's the one where we talk about deepening our meditation practices, journaling, and art. This isn't the best video, and I apologize. I have not made one in quite a while, so I feel rusty. But this is like a very important part of my practice, is all the connections that you make, all the different avenues that it leads you down, besides just reading cards. Like, if I had not started looking into tarot, I would not have looked into astrology. And if I had not looked into astrology, I wouldn't have found runes. And if I didn't look into runes, anyway, it goes on and on. But meditation, I've always known, is really important. And I do guided meditation at this point. Singing my mantras is kind of meditation. But the most important thing with my meditation is just quieting my mind. And sometimes all you need is a simple puzzle. Sometimes all you need is an image in your head to ponder, and you can calm everything down. Quiet everything going on in there. Spirituality, I had been atheist for 20 years-ish, more like 15, 20. And so it was really difficult to put woo-woo meaning to anything, but at the same time, I couldn't deny it. And so it opened up my eyes to other possibilities, like what could be going on here besides the unexplainable. Like, maybe it is explainable. Maybe if I think long enough and hard enough about it, it will be, apparent to me. And so, again, like I said, it led me down a lot of paths. I read a lot of interesting articles. I dismissed theories that other people feel are very, truthful. I don't know. I'd wait for things to feel right and make sense, connections and the gears click into place with my thoughts. And so this is big, and this is what I keep coming back to tarot for, is, more understanding and more information and more guidance and yeah, just learning and knowing more is really important to me. So what have I forgotten? Journaling and art. I've already talked about journaling and art. I have tons of books where I've just written down little concepts that struck my eye in the newspaper and my science magazines, and how do they connect to other things. So journaling and art, and I try to paint the images that strike my fancy, and that's good practice. But again, I'm going back to square one, like, what is really important? Like, what am I trying to do? What is the main thing? So it's a cycle, and even if this is the big question in my mind, it might not be able to be answered completely, because there's just so much to it. I think it's an ongoing process, finding spiritual meaning and symbolic meaning to things that other people don't see as important or magical. So yeah, I probably don't have any more to answer about that, but it is the big one. Oh, yeah, I guess I could say one other thing. Before I got into tarot, I didn't really know or care about all the different clairs that there are. So your clairaudience and clairvoyance and essence, clairsense, I don't know. Anyway, but just feeling and smelling and knowing things that aren't able to be known. I've bought into all that. I really believe that there's stuff to that we all have the ability if we train ourselves, and I feel crazy saying so, but I would have never thought this before tarot showed me new and mystical, magical things. So there's that. It's a domino effect. You are introduced to one thing, and then you chase it and knock down all the other dominoes on your way to learning new things. Or the rabbit hole. I don't know how much Alice learned down the rabbit hole, but she certainly was introduced to a lot of things. But it is the big one. That number 9 is hard to answer, and especially when you don't have a lot of many years of experience to fall back on for these answers. This is the difficult question. Prompt number 10 is spirituality. Yeah, that's a crazy one, isn't it? Like, I was atheist and then I'm not. What in the world could have happened, right? Well, in a way, I was in denial about things, like there's a reason for things. It doesn't make them good and it doesn't make them terrible. It just is a part of the whole design. And there's a lot of peace to be found in knowing that there's more than we think. There's more than we can put our heads around. There's more than can be explained. So spirituality opened my eyes to the unknown, the mystical, the what could be magic, what could be collective consciousness, messages from spirits. I know it's hard to convince people that anything is solid and I'm gonna lose words, that's real in what we feel with tarot, with the messages. It makes us sound kind of Looney Tunes, and don't blame people for thinking that, but I know what I felt and I know what I've seen, and there's no turning back now. I mean, that's opened a door. You can't just write that off as that wasn't that big a deal, or that could have happened to anybody, or at least I can't. I think that once I was able to see the unexplainable, I decided I was going to figure it out for myself. And even if it's not scientifically explainable, it's definitely explainable in my own way of thinking. So as long as I have my head on straight in what I believe, then that's all that matters really to me, is that this makes sense to me, and I can write about it, and I can use it as a tool to combat the obstacles in my day, to get over myself, come out of my own head, to deal with the public, learn how to express myself one way or the other. It's just fantastic that I found this, and it's taken me down so many different roads. I'm very appreciative of it. Prompt number 11 is tarot as a language, how we use it to speak to spirits, guides, ancestors. Well, first off, I'd like to say that I don't really speak to ancestors. I've tried, and I've got my own kind of roadblocks with ancestors. I'm waiting for that feeling that you get when you know you're doing it right, and I'm not there yet. I have decided to speak to my inner child through the Fae and little fairy houses and miniatures. The tarot led me to that, of course. All the different Fae decks, I never really thought I would be into it, and then I realized it has a place in my life. So as a language, the symbolism that's in the cards is something that we as tarot readers understand. It's part of our vernacular. What was I going to say? Speaking to guides, feeling some kind of encouragement or benevolence from your energies around you can come through in your cards, in your readings, especially if you just really are asking the questions about, what do my guides have to tell me, and, where can I find encouragement, things like this. So using this as a language it must be the first thing that I think I was doing. It must be the first step on my tarot journey, was learning the language, finding the energies that were communicating through it, and being able to apply that to my day and my month, I guess. But yeah, I'm still going to work on my ancestors. I don't really, I may have to just keep that on hold until things change. I'm not there yet. Prompt number 12 is Tarot encourages mindful questioning. I really think all of these prompts circle back around to each other, and it makes so much sense to try and break them down and find their meaning deeper than just a simple question. My problem is I don't have the language for a lot of what I see in the cards. The questioning, the mindful questioning. There were several years of my life where I was told that I talk too much, and nobody really cares what you have to say, and they have their own problems. They're thinking their own thoughts. They're in their own head. And you're, keep it to yourself because you're just bothering other people. And for a long time I looked for, somebody who wanted to listen, somebody who I could just throw thoughts at and not be laughed at, not be criticized for. And I started treating my tarot decks like they were those people, those were those friends that you had, where I would just talk to my deck and ask it questions like, why do you think this is? And, what do you think about this theory? And I used my decks as a sounding board, and it helped me to congeal thoughts and theories and connect the dots that make things stick together in my mind. And like I was saying about all these prompts, it comes back around and it makes sense as a whole. And breaking down the little pieces of it, which are the prompts, breaking down what we're thinking and feeling, it's a difficult task, and I think that's what I've been doing mostly, along with drawing, is just getting a message or learning something and then, putting it in the soup of my mind. How does this fit in, and what does it mean to this other thing, and, how can I use that to better understand this other theory or this other phenomenon. And it feels good. I will keep doing it as long as it feels good. And most of everything that I'm doing with tarot, it's because it feels good. And I was joking with a friend of mine not too long ago. Well, it's been a couple of years, but I don't do anything that I don't want to do, and I don't do anything that doesn't feel right. And I'm at a very lucky point in my life to be able to say I can do that. I can turn away from something. I don't need it. I can turn to something else and use pieces and parts for my enjoyment or my learning or the enhancement of my delightful personality. But mindful questioning that's a daily practice too. I think that just giving yourself an opportunity to ask, kind of deep questions, something you can sit with for a while, is pretty important. Prompt number 13. spiritual insights into everyday life. Well, this one's fun. This is how I take what I get in my cards and apply it to every day, right? So I use the example today that if I don't hurry up and make this video, I'm just not going to make it. There's nothing special about that message. I could have just told myself that. I need to just do what I say I'm going to do. And for most people, that's probably enough, is just to tell yourself, oh, I need to do that. I need to mop the floor in the kitchen. It's getting kind of gross, or there's some sticky spots or whatever. And that's enough for some people. I'm going to make myself sound so bad. I don't mean to, though. I'm just letting you know it's not as bad as it sounds. It just, I can't believe I'm saying it out loud. So my cards will tell me, you haven't exercised. Okay, yeah, I know. I haven't exercised. I'm not feeling good. I'm gonna wait. I've got this. I've got that. Excuses, excuses, excuses. So the next day, my cards will say it again. You haven't exercised. Yeah, I know. The next day, pain. You are going to feel pain. You need to exercise. It'll go on this way until I just do what I know I need to be doing. I make crafts, I make art, I make little crafty things. Sometimes I get the page of Pentacles and it's just like, just go ahead and start making some of this stuff. Would you just make some things? Just make little things, make happy little things. You're going to need it. You don't know when, but you're going to need it. Just do it. Just make these little things. So, such mundane messages I get, but they're so helpful because I'm more likely to listen to my cards than I am my own brain. Isn't that funny? Synchronicities also. Like, if I see a particular kind of flower in a reading, and then I go outside and I see the same kind of flower, I'm like, oh wow, that's the same one. I wonder what that means. So I'll go and I'll look it up, and it's like a learning experience, and not a really big deal. It seems very mundane, but I never would have looked up the meaning of that flower if it hadn't been for my tarot reading. Art styles are the same way. I look at some people's art styles and I'm like, wow, I really need to try that because, I've done stuff adjacent to this. I've done things that are similar to that, but I've never done this. And when I try it, it really is different. Like I was talking about this before, I've gone from gouache to watercolor, and it is so different. Like I didn't expect the paint to behave so differently, but it does. And if you don't try it, you don't know. So I'm working with colored pencils, and I've tried markers, and all of this is just because the Page of Pentacles and a lot of the pages, actually, Page of Wands, they tell me about trying new things and go into it with a child's mind. Be open-minded, be willing to make mistakes, be happy with the outcome just because you tried it. And it's all just mundane, everyday things, but that enriches my life. And that makes things a little bit more fun for me. It's more like a game, or it's more like it's like a puzzle. I'm figuring out, what's on the agenda for today? And it feels good. Prompt number 14, and this is another big one, building self-trust. So we all need a little validation. I get a lot of validation from you guys. I get some from my cards. Mostly they give me weird messages to try and figure out. But building self-trust. So if I were to get a message from my cards, like make that video, or go outside today, or, rest today because tomorrow's going to be a big deal, I have to trust myself that I got that message, not that I'm just imagining things for myself. I'm just, making things up. Because one, why would I? I mean, if I could just tell myself to do these things, or to, to hide away if I need to. Well, if I could just do that for myself, why would I even need the cards? So the fact that the cards are telling me, having these messages for me, that are saying these things, that are guiding me through my day, and the fact that any of this helps me at all, is validation that I'm doing the right thing by trusting what's coming through. I don't always get the message right the first time, but, as long as I'm doing daily spreads, I think I'm getting pretty darn close. I think I'm getting what I need. Yeah. Trusting myself. Is a long road. But actually, once you get like a really meaningful reading, and you've had any kind of meaningful shake-up, it's pretty easy to say, well, that happened and I can't explain it, so there must be more to it than, nonsense. Have a lot of critics around that, make you wonder and question yourself. But I think the more often you do readings, the more often that you get these messages, probably the more you'll feel that trust build. I hope so anyway. I'm still a baby in this world, so doing the best I can. Prompt 15 is a sacred dialogue. Am I conversing with spirits, collective consciousness, or the cards themselves? Well, personally, I don't really think it matters who I'm talking to, as long as the messages are genuine and for the greater good, I enjoy my time with the cards, but you know what I enjoy even more is talking about my readings to you guys. I've made so many friends here in the community, and everyone's so generous with their stories, so generous with their time, and truly help me see all sides to my readings and the aspects of the cards that I use. I don't think I could do any of this kind of interpretation without someone as a sounding board, or a mentor, and all of you guys are my mentors. I look at your videos and I watch your readings. I watch, what stands out to you, and it does impact my readings, and it does impact the way that I think about tarot. So I think that the tool of tarot for me is a piece of the language. the sacred dialogue, because there wouldn't be so much meaning to it if I didn't have you guys to discuss it with. So this community is pretty awesome. Thanks for being here, guys. I hope you stick around, and I hope to have more videos out soon. I hope to get on a schedule. I have a lot of hopes, but more than anything, I have gratitude. I'm grateful for you, and have a good week. Stay safe, stay warm, stay cozy, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.